Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here. I'm just sitting here drinking my morning coffee. Getting ready to start my day. It's Sunday. My internet's still down, so I don't know if I'm even going to get Q&As up this week. No idea when it's going to come up, but this will be one of probably multiple videos that get uploaded the moment my internet comes back up. And I want to talk with you guys a little bit about a big review that was done. If I don't remember to do it, remind me if you guys see this for me to link it in the comments later. I don't link studies in my description box anymore. And people ask, why? Why don't you need to link studies? No, I don't. I'm tired of getting strikes from YouTube for violating their rules. They don't like you to create traffic, make videos specifically for the purpose of sending traffic to an outside source. So I have actually gotten a strike before for discussing a study and then sending a link to the Harvard Journal of Medicine in the description box below because it was the topic of my video. That's technically not allowed on YouTube. So I've got a strike for it before, and I finally just deleted all those links. But I'll at least try to remember to link it in the description, not the description, but the comments below. If I forget, remind me, guys. Remind me, because I do have this link saved. But, you know, I came across a thing that was released this last week, a few days ago, and it looked at a review of 25. They tried to find the most unbiased studies, meaning studies that didn't appear to have financial interests of any type involved. And they tried to find the best 25 studies to look at a review to see how omega-3 supplements, and they looked at, both fish oil and vegan sources, to see if they had any meaningful impact on long-term cardiovascular outcomes. And what they determined was that there doesn't really seem to be any benefits. In other words, when we're looking at science, when you start looking for things, you should be able to find a correlation with larger studies of something if there is a connection at all. Correlation doesn't prove causation, but here's the other thing, guys. If you do 3 studies and none of them show the desired result, odds are that result doesn't exist. Or if you do 10 studies and only 2 of them show the positive outcomes and 8 or 7 of them don't, that doesn't mean you go, oh, okay, well, they just didn't find. No, they should have found something. They should find something in the numbers if anything positive is happening. That means that it's probably falling under the area of a null hypothesis. But that's kind of a whole other topic, really. They looked at 25 different large studies, and they determined that. And people say, well, aren't there other real benefits? No, not really. The whole point we're all taking omega-3s is for cardiovascular health, right? I hope that's why you're taking them. I hope you don't think they're going to give you steroid-like effects in your muscles. I hope you don't think that consuming extra dietary fat is calorically dense food is the magical key to fat loss, because it's not. So again, we're coming back to this point of the major benefit that we've been looking for doesn't seem to be there. Now, what they did note is that, supplementing a certain amount of these things does tend to lower triglycerides and all these other things. But what they're finding is that this still isn't correlating with a reduction in strokes or heart attacks. All right, and that's a problem. In other words, it's showing that long-term omega-3 supplementation doesn't seem to be associated with reducing these when they look at these unbiased studies. They look at the bigger studies that they found. So that's not a good thing for this particular supplement. And that kind of makes me feel bad because it's one of the few supplements I've promoted historically. What have I always told you guys? There aren't many supplements that work. And even ones that were showing promise, you're seeing more people who aren't really as financially caught up in the supplement game are starting to pull more of their endorsements of various things. Like, again, everyone was endorsing BCAAs for a while, including people with advanced degrees, right? They were all doing that until all these meta-analysis came out in the last year showing, hey, they don't seem to have any impact on muscle protein synthesis. They don't seem to have any impact on muscle retention with dieting. They don't seem to have any muscle benefits to muscle growth. We can't find it when we're adding these as supplements. If you're getting enough protein in your diet, you're getting enough of these in your normal food, that adding more doesn't seem to matter outside of the matrix of your normal food. And even people who are eating a lower protein diet, they're not even really seeing the benefits there because they're only adding the branch chains in without the other amino acids. So you really need the complete profile, and that comes from eating complete proteins. So these things are being pulled. Same thing like citrulline malate was showing promise for a long time, and you're starting to see experts that pulled their endorsements. They say, no, it doesn't really seem to be that well supported. It had promise, later studies, again, that weren't paid for by supplement industry, not really finding the benefits. And that's the thing we run into. I was saying there's just a handful of supplements that seem to work. And I was saying, yeah, fish oil seems to be one of them. It's been looked at by cardiologists for years, seems to lower triglycerides, right? So this improves your health. Well, it's not meaningful enough, apparently, that it's showing in the statistics. In other words, it's not like the statistics are showing that if you take fish oil every day, you're magically going to have a 30% lower stroke or heart attack rate. We're not seeing stuff like that. The whatever it's adding is too small of an amount to be statistically significant. So it might be lowering triglycerides for certain cardiovascular patients, but there could be other factors going on there, and whatever it's doing there doesn't really seem to be having a meaningful effect on the larger population who takes it. We're just not seeing the benefits, and so it's kind of like now we have one of these, what I said, 4 useful supplements is kind of showing itself to not be all that important. And ultimately it's because real deficiency, most people get enough fat, and a lot of people who follow really whole food diets who even eat a low fat are still probably getting enough of this. They're getting enough of it to cover their basic health. Again, you've got to understand this is in other foods. Even your broccoli, a lot of your fruit, a lot of your vegetables already have traces of omega-3, and it turns out we just don't need that much. And you're always seeing certain people who call themselves evidence-based are like, no, you need 2 grams of total EPA and DHA every day. But then we're looking at all this other data, and we're not even seeing benefits at all from supplementing it in terms of long-term health outcomes. So we're kind of falling back to that point where omega-3s might be falling into that area of not useful. And this is something I've always endorsed, and I'm a supplement minimalist. They may not be useful. But we said D3 is useful, but it's put in every dairy product you buy, all your milk, a lot of your cereals, a lot of the foods you buy are already supplemented with D3 because we know we need it for certain segments of the population actually need to be supplementing it for health, and we've known this for so long that it's just thrown into a lot of foods. And the same thing, people will argue, you'll see that certain people who are anti-dairy argue, well, you don't even absorb the calcium and magnesium in milk even though it's ultra high without D3, right? They always say that, but it's added to every single one. I can't find milk in a store that doesn't have D3 added, right? So that resolves that issue. Then we've got creatine, which, again, 2/3 of the population respond to, 1/3 doesn't. And it seems to largely be diet-based. And I've added it back in because I'm not eating really much red meat these days, so I've actually added creatine back in myself for that purpose. And then you've got protein powders, which, again, are just a convenient source of protein. They don't work any better than normal foods. It's just, again, that's actually a supplement. So we're kind of falling back at that point to where we're falling back now to where there might only really be 2 potentially useful supplements out there. That might be just plain old creatine monohydrate and maybe protein powders in some circumstances if they are warranted. And not even everyone necessarily needs them or is going to benefit from them. So we're kind of falling back at this point to where even the simplest cheap supplements, some of them are turning out not to really be that necessary. Because again, if you're drinking milk, your D3 is covered. People say, but I don't drink milk. Well, no one asked you. Don't tell me you're serious about your gains or your body composition or your performance when you don't consume dairy. I don't want to hear that nonsense. I'm sorry, I don't want to hear it. Take that crap somewhere else. We know better. That dairy is actually shown in the research to impact performance, body composition, muscle growth extremely effectively. That point's not even argued. These other things are argued. That one's not. So again, that nonsense needs to go elsewhere. The omega-3s may not even have the health benefits we think they do. Just eating a balanced diet is good, so then we're just down to protein and creatine. And again, the protein kind of really optional, isn't it? And creatine's also largely diet dependent as well. 1/3 of the population doesn't even benefit from it. So where are we at with this? It's like we're falling back to the point to where when you really start looking at the data that's coming out, even supplement minimalists like me, stuff we recommend might not even be useful. And I guess the upside to that is that fish oil is so cheap, most of you are only spending $5 a month on it anyways. And if you're spending more, you're getting ripped off. Most of us haven't spent that much on it. So at least hopefully my recommendation to people, yeah, you should probably take some fish oil. At least if it's turning out it's not doing that, I haven't cost anybody thousands of dollars. So there's at least that to fall back on. But yeah, that one was kind of a shock to me when I saw that data, because I thought for years it helped with cardiovascular outcomes because heart disease runs in my family. I take it, everything else, and now it might not even be helping. And we know that excessive amounts is actually harmful, right? You take 10 of those normal strength fish oil caps every day, there is data showing that actually can have health negatives. So just factor that in also. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.